Dontae Carter leads a group of talented freshmen that will make a major impact this fall.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Today, we look at a group of freshmen that will make a massive impact this fall. Most of them will impact the defense, and it starts in the secondary with Dontae Carter. And Dontae Carter was a mid-year enrollee. He's going to provide quality depth at the safety position, and his advantage, and that is his advantage, is that he was an early enrollee, knows the defense, and already has a winter's worth of strength and conditioning. So, what we did was we looked at 5 freshmen that I think will make a huge impact this fall, and Dontae Carter, Simeon Boulware, Jamison Curtis, Markeis Barrett, and Glenn Seabrooks all stand out to me as guys that I can see making an impact early. Now, this freshman class is pretty talented overall, but I had to narrow it down to 5 guys, and this is kind of where I am on that. But I'm going to start with Dontae Carter. Like I said, he is the early enrollee. He knows the defense, and he's going to make the impact on that defense because of his versatility. He's somebody that I believe will be able to play that free safety position. He'll be able to play deep coverage. He'll be able to do some things and allow C.J. Taylor, Brandon Fontenette, those guys to be able to patrol kind of the alleys and down, make some plays in the run game as well. And I think he'll give those guys a chance to do that because he can play a lot of the coverage roles, a lot of the deep safety roles and things like that. He's been on, like I said, he's been on campus. He's been versed into Clark Lee's defense. He's been ingrained into the strength and conditioning program. He's already being a recruiting host for a lot of these new freshmen coming in, like Carson Lawrence and Van Zyl, Hinton, those guys. He's recruiting now. He's kind of become an ambassador to that defense. He's like the one newcomer that's just turning heads at practice. He's a guy that seems like he's been there for 5 years. He seems like he's just a veteran in Clark Lee's defense, and he is the quintessential safety that you want in that scheme because of the versatility that he has. He can play a single high look. He can play a 2-shell look. He can do whatever you need him to do. That will allow some of these other guys down in the front 7 to be able to do their thing as well. Because one of the things we talked about with Clark Lee's defense is that they like to move a lot. They like to slant, twist, stunt, all that stuff. The linebackers are going to be a major factor as well. And none of those guys can do those things comfortably if the back end is not secured, right? And we talked corners. There's some newcomers. The cornerbacks are going to be dominated by the newcomers, not the freshmen, but like the new transfer portal additions. The freshmen are going to take some of the front 7 positions and really kind of ingratiate themselves. And then Dontae Carter is going to lead the way in the secondary, I do believe. So I'm excited about what Carter can do. He's electric back there. He's a great leader, knows the defense, will be able to get guys lined up, and will be able to bounce things off of C.J. Taylor. And I think he'll end up being one of your major leaders on that side of the ball, and also one of your major leaders in special teams as well, because I think he'll excel in punt and kickoff coverage, as well as be a major factor in the punt return game. Maybe not as a returner, but maybe as somebody who blocks a gunner or gets, is that first line of protection for the return guy, whoever that is. And I think that might be Micah Bell. And you're going to see him kind of do a lot of different things, a lot of different roles within this team to be able to help this operation go and to be able to help this team be successful in winning more than just 2 games. And I think you'll see it from game one. I think he'll make an immediate impact in game one. And I think he's that kind of player. He's that kind of leader. He's somebody that guys can rally around. And he's very one thing I like about recruiting Texas players is that they are more polished when they come in. They're well coached. The Georgia kids are well coached as well. The California kids are well coached. There's a lot of states that come in polished, not quite as raw. And I think that benefits you coming in as a freshman, although some of these Texas kids do have a low ceiling because they reach their potential or they reach their ceiling at the end of high school, maybe freshman year of college. That's kind of the downside of that potentially. But then again, you get a guy that has some athleticism and some pretty good ability that he comes in and can bust through that ceiling a little bit because you reach a whole new level of ability after a year of strength and conditioning, after a year seasoned in this defense, and after a year covering punts and kickoffs and things like that. You become kind of that battle-tested leader. And again, on a team like this where you're coming in off an abysmal season where you had no leaders, maybe one guy, but one guy leading on a terrible team is not really effective. He's a guy that can emerge as one of those leaders in that leadership group. CJ Taylor, Langston Patterson, and then Dontae Carter might be the next name that you hear. And that would not shock me at all. So that's one guy I'm really, really high on this defense. I think he'll be an impact leader. Another guy that I'm excited about is Simeon Boulware from Decula, Georgia. Again, another school that's very, very well coached, very good league, very competitive league that they play in at Decula in Gwinnett County in Georgia. I think when you add a piece like this is really good. He's 6'5". He came in 6'5", 235. I'm sure he has put on some muscle in that strength conditioning program. He was an early enrollee. He's coming in at a position that lacks a little bit of depth, and he's coming in to a position that where you're one injury away from being a starter. You have some ability, and you'll have some opportunity to get in the game as a pass rush specialist. As you know, he's going to be somebody that also obviously factors in special teams. I think if you're a freshman and you want to get on the field, you better be contributing in special teams, punt block, punt return, punt coverage, kickoff coverage, all of that. You better be first in line. So he's somebody that I really like from an edge perspective. He's real long, fast, has a lot of strength. He's one of those kind of tweeners that could go either way, and I think he provides a lot of versatility for Clark Lee. I think he's somebody that can offer you a hand in the dirt. In some like third and long, you get some fast personnel type packages out there, or he's somebody that can play the edge to the boundary. He's also somebody that can be a bigger edge guy on the field side, maybe kind of a bigger presence where you don't necessarily have to put a safety down so low. You could kind of creep your safety back a little bit, shade your free safety, which may be Dontae Carter, over to the boundary side, and you could have kind of a hybrid 1-shell, 2-shell look, provide a little deception, and maintain your edge, right? And there's a few guys at this position, at this edge position. I think Simeon Boulware kind of stands out because at his size, he gives you a little bit of versatility with his height and weight, where in a year that 235 could be 265, and next thing you know, he is a 4 technique, or a defensive end. So he's one of those that could kind of go either way right now, and I think he can provide you with some quality depth at one of those positions. And he's somebody that I think with his athleticism, it would be a really, really good 4 technique if he put on weight, or if he stayed lean and worked on his strength, he could be an edge guy. So he's kind of in betweener. A notable or a honorable mention at that position would also be fellow early enrollee Mason Carter. He's also 6'5". He comes in a little bit lighter from Jacksonville. He's another defensive end edge guy that I think could possibly make an impact as well. So I'm excited about this class of defensive guys, and having versatile players like that can give you a lot of options, a lot of speed options, a lot of power options, a lot of just length and edge presence, and allows you to assemble pieces kind of behind them a little bit differently, a little bit more deceptively. It gives you a chance to also to have an edge presence into the boundary as well, where you have a big old long target that can get his arms up on quick throws out to the numbers and provide a little bit of disruption. Maybe even bat down a pass or two if things play out the right way. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of possibilities with that, and in a position where you have some guys, we just don't know exactly what, because the defense was just kind of pitiful last year, to be honest with you. So we don't really know what's going to emerge. We don't really, it's kind of I don't want to say fear of the unknown. That's not necessarily exactly the right words, but it's kind of that concept where it's like, okay, well, we can't really crown somebody as the edge guy. Like, this is the guy to watch out for, right? Until we actually know within Clark Lea's defense. And there's a bunch of names, but we're talking about freshmen right now, but I think Simeon Boulware could definitely edge his name in there and really just kind of get in there and make an impact. He's an early enrollee. He's versed in Clark Lea's defense as well. He can integrate with those older guys and those incumbent guys, right with the best of them. So I'm excited to kind of see how he impacts that position, a position that's, I don't want to say lacks talent, because that's not true, but it's a position that lacks just known commodities. And that's just kind of where we are with that position group. And that's okay. That's okay. We can establish some of that. And coming off the 2-10 season, maybe you don't want to have established people there, because there's a reason. There's reasons why this team was 2-10, and so you really kind of need to redefine who is what, and I think that's going to happen in fall camp. Simeon Boulware is going to be right there in the mix, but some more defensive guys that I'm really excited about. Jamison Curtis and Glenn Seabrooks in the defensive front. I think this is a part of the defense that really kind of is itching for those impact guys. So we'll talk about that next. All right, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. That's right. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. And that's because LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. And that's why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So what do you need to do? Well, I'm about to tell you what you need to do. You need to post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN? Or you must be. And if you are, you must be tired of all that shouting. Well, you need to make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So we continue to look at our list, okay? And thanks for, like I said, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. I really do appreciate it from the everydayers. This thing is going to get strong, so you better jump on now. Tell your friends that, hey, man, I've been on Locked On Vandy since the days they were talking about Mark Byington, since the days they were talking about Jerry Stackhouse not cutting it. And, I was on then. I was an everydayer from day one. That's a bragging right? Let's get on board. I love you. I love every one of you everydayers. You guys make this thing fun. So anyway, you know what else makes it fun is having a great defense. And I think these impact freshmen, I think you could see a pattern in how this team was recruited. A lot of defensive players. And that seems to kind of want to be Clark Lee's identity on this team. So I think you have to look at it in that way. And you have to look at the defense as, okay, well, they're trying to bring some impact guys in early as freshmen, fill in these spots because it's really kind of thin over there on defense. And not saying there's not talent, but like there's opportunity for these guys defensively. And there's two more guys that I think could make a major impact. And one of those is Jamison Curtis from linebacker from Saraland in Alabama, and Glenn Seabrooks from right down the road at Davidson Academy. So I'll start with Jamison Curtis. Now, one of the things I really like about Jamison Curtis as a linebacker at Saraland High School, and I'll put the list up one more time. One of the things I really liked about him was the fact that he's just got a knack for the ball, man. And he's just somebody that can, if something happens to Patterson, if something happens to Prince Colley, or maybe he outplays one of those guys, or maybe he just earns himself onto the defense, he's definitely going to be a rotational guy, I think. But one of the things I really like about him is that, again, versatility of being able to play on the outside and the inside. Being 6'1", though, I think he's kind of due for the inside linebacker role. Somebody that I wouldn't be surprised that plays there because of his height. Maybe he's got more of a knack for the inside linebacker role at this level. But just a guy that's just always around the ball, man. And he's just there. He's so explosive off the ball. He's so explosive making plays. He's just a guy that he just gets done, man. And he's a leader, and he's an emotional leader as well. He's, again, he plays well in space. He runs well in space. He is very physical, and I really like his ability to punch the ball out. I mean, that's the thing that stands out. And I know I keep saying that. I know that's a broken record, but he just, wherever that football is, man, he just, if you watch his highlights, do yourself a favor and go watch his highlights on Huddle. Search Jamison Curtis Huddle and just go watch his highlights, and you will thank me later, because, I mean, the guy just, in punt coverage as well, he just takes the ball right off the punter's foot several times. He gets his big paw in there and knocks that ball away. There was a play in there where the ball carrier was running, and all of a sudden he just takes the ball from him, right? And it's just plays like that can, if you got a guy that says turnover, I would say turnover. What would be would it be turnover prone? I don't know. He's just got that ability to create and cause havoc and cause turnovers. And if you get a guy like that, man, you're just looking to, you are looking to be excited. That's for sure. When you get turnovers like that, it creates juice, right? And it creates excitement, and it creates a lot of confidence in both sides of the ball. I mean, the defense is going to be more jacked up if he's on the field and he's scooping and scoring. I mean, we're 2 minutes into his career highlights, and he scored. All he's done is create turnovers on every kind of play you can create turnovers on. I mean, the guy is just, he's all over the place, man. And it goes without saying that having a guy like that psychologically just stresses out offensive coordinators, because you're like, where he wears number 8 for Saraland, but it's like, where's 8? Okay, we got to find 8. We can't do anything unless we find 8. 8's gonna just cause a lot of problems for us. He's going to come off a block and he's going to disrupt everything. And that is something that is very much needed for a team that has trouble with that thing. They have trouble. They've had trouble disrupting. They've had trouble making electrifying plays. They've had trouble gaining momentum. He's somebody that can immediately get that by just having that innate ability to cause a turnover. So inside backer, outside backer, I think he could kind of do both. I could see him as an inside backer, but then again, he's good and quick enough and good enough in space that I could see him come off the edge too. So, I mean, there's some versatility there, and there's obviously going to be an impact within special teams as well. So I'm really excited about Jamison Curtis, and he's going to be a big time player for this Vandy team. But I can't go on without talking about Glenn Seabrooks. Glenn Seabrooks is going to be an amazing talent from Davidson Academy. I think when you're looking at a position group, when you look at the defensive line and you see a freshman come in at 6'2", 305 that also played baseball and has a little bit of coordination to him, a little bit of movement to him. He's somebody that can come in and play the nose guard and be able to slant and move and do everything that Clark Lee wants to do with that position, because he's not a Terrence Cody type where he's just going to sit there and just eat 3 blockers and create space for his linebackers. He's somebody that can also disrupt himself. And I really like the way he plays and the way he comes off the ball. I like his athleticism. I like his leadership capabilities. I like the fact that he's a multi-sport athlete coming in. He comes in with different levels of competitiveness. He adds a spark to a group that may have the least spark on the entire defense and that needs the most spark on this entire defense, and not to offend anybody that's coming back in that position group. But if there was an impact player, we would know about it. And at 2-10, I got to be honest, there are no impact players at 2-10. They have to be established or reestablished, right? And they can't, and they won't be until this year. And Glenn Seabrooks is somebody that will immediately do that. And so I'm really excited about that one as well. He adds a lot of big key depth there, and just somebody, again, that's a disruptor, both size, strength, a little bit of athleticism as well. When you look at him, you're like, this guy's not athletic at all. But again, do yourself a favor, go watch the huddle highlights for all these guys. This is a pretty impressive class. And I think there's some reason why these guys aren't ranked high. And it might be just height, weight. They lack a little bit of speed here, or a little bit of quickness there, or they weren't at some camp, or there's factors involved in why these guys aren't. But I think you're finally going to, there's some changes that are happening within that program, and I know people don't believe it, and they'll be like, "Well, I don't believe it until I see it," but you can tell. Just look at the quotes. These aren't normal PC quotes that these guys are saying. I mean, there's some quality stuff in there if you look. And commits that we would normally lose, we haven't, and I don't think we will. So anyway, before we get out of here, we got to talk Markeis Barrett. We got to give the offense a little bit of love before we get out of this episode. We'll talk about him and what he could do for the receiver position next. All right, this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. And the people at FanDuel want you to know that summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. Game 5 is happening as I record, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. You better hurry up to get in on the NBA Finals. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Can you believe that? That's $200, man, that you can use to bet everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park and kind of everything in between. FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. You won't regret it. I promise you. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. All right, welcome back. Segment number 3. We finished this thing out. We're talking about impact freshmen. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your next listen. Locked On Sports Today, and then all the other shows in the family of SEC shows. Make that a priority, man. Like, just go through the schedule and say, okay, just kind of glance. What's going on at LSU? What's going on at Texas? What's going on at Bama? What's going on here, there, and everywhere? But anyway, this is a new series that I'm going to try to do throughout the rest of my time here at Locked On. I got 5 on it. Talking about 5 impact freshmen right now. That topic will change. But Markeis Barrett is the final one for today's episode. And this is an electrifying receiver, okay? Markeis Barrett from Knoxville, Tennessee, 6'1", 170 pounds. He is from the Webb School in Knoxville. Again, just I like the 2 receivers that were, or the 3 receivers that were on this list. They all jump out at me, and I think they all could possibly make an impact. But like, again, there's a lot of also transfers that I think they have to kind of sift through a little bit. But what stood out to me about Barrett is the fact that he's very springy, just seems like he glides a lot. And I think he's somebody that'll fit in right there with Jeremiah Dillon. I think he can slide in right behind there and get in a rotation there at that position and really just kind of make an impact vertically down the field and in the quick screen game, double moves, things like that. I mean, I think he offers a lot of capability and a lot of different types of ways he can attack you within the scheme. And he's somebody, again, the word I would describe to use Markeis Barrett is smooth. And that's kind of what you need. You kind of just need somebody that's real smooth. I don't know that he's going to be a devastating blocker at all downfield. He's going to have to kind of develop into that, which I think in this run scheme will be important. But if he can kind of learn how to impact that in that way, I think he'll do a great job within this offensive scheme. And I think Tim Beck will really enjoy having him in the lineup. And and I'm starting to see kind of a pattern with these type of receivers, these 6'1", 6'2", real smooth running, just kind of looks like doesn't really look like he's running all that fast. And the next thing you know, he's like on you. And it's really kind of fascinating. Like, I really love watching people like that run because it just, they're just going 200,000 miles an hour, but it doesn't look like it. And they're just because it's just so smooth, man. There's just so much power there. And that's something that this offense needs. This offense needs a jump, needs a spark, needs a whatever. And if they can get that, I think he gives you a lot in that regard. And I think he gives you something that can help kind of ignite an offense that's really also looking for an identity. And if you can find that identity, and I think there's an identity that they want or that everybody thinks that they want, but like, identities also can evolve by how your personnel responds within your system. Like, the identity of like them wanting to run Pavia a whole lot along with the running backs and slow this thing down and turn this thing into a power run team, that could all change on a dime when they realize that Jeremiah Dillon and those guys, Quincy Skinner and this whole group of receivers, Markeis Barrett, they may realize we've got some true speed out there, man. And if we can capitalize on that, we may not need to run the ball 50 times. We could throw some RPO stuff. We could launch a few shots downfield. We can do some things that we didn't think was possible before because the personnel we have at those positions have really emerged. I mean, yesterday's episode, Eli Stowers, I think gives you an avenue into that identity shift a little bit, because he's a piece that they didn't have originally when they hired Tim Beck. And he's a piece that can impact that way of thinking. Same with these receivers, same with these freshmen coming in. Like, they can impact kind of the identity and reshape the identity of the offense, or reshape the identity of defense, or provide something within special teams that gives you that, hey, we can actually do this that we didn't think we could do originally. So anyway, but these are 5 impact freshmen there. I got 5 on it. Is something that I'm looking forward to try to do each and every week, if not multiple episodes or multiple segments on that. So impact freshmen, man, these 5 guys, I mean, this whole freshman class, I really like this entire freshman class, but I think these 5 guys kind of stand out to me as of right now. That could change during fall camp. Some other guys could emerge, and we'll talk about that as we go through fall camp comes and we kind of progress through it. But these are guys that stand out to me as of right now. But that's all we got for you today. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will check you back here tomorrow for a hump day episode of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll see you around. Anchor down. I got 5 on it.